Hello, and I realize I forgot to change the text again. We are not making another sculpture of Ratoncito Perez. We are doing the Badger Baker today. There we go. So I posted both a poll as well as a shorts video. I didn't get too many comments on the shorts video. I did post it a couple different places, and I think the votes I got on YouTube were were the Deer Detective, and then Instagram, I believe, was the Baker Badger, or the Badger Baker. And then I also posted it, didn't get anything on TikTok when I posted it. And when I posted the poll on YouTube, we got 3 votes for the Badger Baker and 1 for the Deer Detective. So seems like I was hoping to get a couple more responses. I didn't get too many. I probably should have reposted it, but the Badger definitely got more interaction than anything else. So we are making our little Badger Baker today. As always, I've already started with a little bit of a form that we're going to be sculpting around. I wanted to have a tray with either cookies and other desserts on it, probably just cookies. So this is an electrical outlet plate, but it's like the right size, so we're going to use that. But yeah, so we're doing the Badger today. And I have images of badgers up right now. I'm doing the one I'm more familiar with because of Redwall. I don't know what type of badger that is. European badger, that's what it is. So the style that I'm doing is the European badger. The American badger's similar, but a little bit different. But the European badger's what I'm used to seeing, just because I was obsessed with Redwall as a kid and as a teenager, and I still am. And the designs on those books were always the European badgers. So we are doing that style. And if you've ever read Redwall books, you know it's common for them to have a badger in the Redwall Abbey. So very much, this is going to be very much Redwall-esque, which I love Redwall so much. I did find, I found the audiobooks free on like the library, my local library apps, and I was so delighted to find out that the author Brian Jakes narrates it himself. He's a really good storyteller, so it's very fun to listen to. I highly recommend it if you like anthropomorphic animal stories at all. Even if you don't, Redwall's great. They're a lot of fun. Martin the Warrior, Legend of Luke, and Mossflower are my favorites, but all of them are pretty good. So, but I love doing animal designs largely because I love Redwall so much, and that was such a huge portion of my bookworm days that these kinds of characters are just ingrained in my mind. So that's kind of what the Animal Adventures thing was, you know, for me to be able to make my own little animal characters that I loved. Much like Redwall. I might sculpt actual Redwall characters at some point. I've thought about doing it because I would love to do Martin the Warrior. I'd also love to make like the Martin the Warrior tapestry or painting of it that's in Redwall Abbey. Of course, most of the badgers are in Salamandastron, or however some people say that. I don't actually know the real pronunciation. I haven't listened to the audiobook that has Salamandastron in it yet. Is it Salamandastron? I've heard it said that way as well. I'm not entirely sure what the correct pronunciation is, but I was listening the other day to one, I think it was the Doomlight, and I found out that Eulalia is actually Eulalia. And I was like, oh, I've been pronouncing that wrong the whole time. And Eulalia is the battle cry of the badgers and the hares. So, but yes, we are doing a happy little Baker Badger. I'm probably going to do cookies on the tray, like I did in the initial sketch. I was thinking about doing cinnamon rolls, because that would be kind of fun. But I think cookies are... That's what I did in the sketch, and I think I'm going to stick with that. Plus, if I do 3, I can put them over the little nail holes so that you won't tell that that's a an outlet plate. This is the boring part where I just cover this aluminum foil. And it's going to be harder because it is freezing cold in the house. And whenever it's cold, clay does not like to cooperate. I did try to condition it and prep it all ahead of time, but it's very cold in here. I have a heated blanket on my lap right now. I'm sitting like a little grandma with my heated blanket because it's so cold. I did turn the heat on my room finally, but I hate wasting the money. I did put in the description a note that I may or may not be able to continue this next week, where there might be a delay, because my oven broke and these are oven baked clays and I don't really have a big enough thing to do unless I were to borrow someone's. So I may have to delay it 1 week. We'll see what happens. But my intent is to do it like I normally do, 1 part every week. But it'll just depend if I can get my new oven hooked up in time or not. It is coming next week and I don't anticipate having any issues. But, you know, there always might be something that goes wrong, something I need to hook it up that I didn't think about. I think I have everything. But should that happen, you know, it might be... Or if I don't have time until Saturday to put it together, I might have to delay the second video because I'm not going to be able to bake this sculpture until that oven is ready to go. I did finally start my bottles. I finally found a way to cut the bottles evenly and open, so I will be doing sculptures inside bottles soon. I probably won't because there's so many different types of media. I probably won't be doing that live because I don't see the point of doing it live, and it would be difficult to do it live because there's a lot of waiting time in between. But I will try to video as much of it as I can, the parts of it, and then I will post periodically. I have a couple ideas. I have a lot of cool bottles that I've collected because I work at a place that also has a bar and a restaurant, so they get some really interesting alcohol bottles that are really pretty. So I have a wet tile saw, which I found is way more effective for cutting bottles than the whole heating method, scoring and heating, because that's very unpredictable. So I will be cutting lots of bottles open and doing figures and scenes inside. I have a couple cool different ideas. And we'll see where they go. But any that are not fan art based, anything that I design completely, might appear on the shop. We'll see. As available for sale. I don't want to promise that because I'm not sure, but resin-filled bottles would be fairly sturdy and safe from damage in the mail. Whereas these sculptures just aren't. And I've mailed them before, but they're terrifying to mail because of how fragile they are. Badgers are they're almost oval shaped. Like they're just normally its head would be standing out, but of course we're anthropomorphizing it, so it's going to be standing up. But they're very, very basically shaped. And they do, I think they have tails. They have little tails, little stub tails. Oh no, they have decent tails that stick out. Okay, I thought they did. I couldn't remember how long the tails were. I don't think I've ever actually seen a badger in real life, because I'm from West Virginia, and I don't think we have them at all here. I think the American badgers, I'm not even sure where it's located at, but it's not here. We have lots of groundhogs and squirrels, but possums and other stuff, but I don't think there's any badgers in this region. Because the only badgers I've ever seen are on the covers of books and in movies and stuff. Yeah, let me see something here. Badgers in America. Range map. Okay, yeah, so there's tons of badgers, but they are predominantly out west. So on the west coast, Midlands, and west coast. There's like none on the East Coast, and that's predominantly where I've traveled and lived, so that's why I've never seen one. I thought they were mostly elsewhere. I just didn't know if it was like all of the East Coast or only certain locations. But basically, if it's not the East Coast, there's badgers. And I'm debating, in the initial drawing, I think I just gave the badger a little apron for clothing. I don't know if I should do more than that. So like add full-on clothing with the apron, or I'm leaning toward just the apron because that might be kind of cute. Okay. And I apologize, this is taking longer than normal to blend together because you can see it looks pretty crappy still. Because whenever it's cold, the clay is so much harder to work with. I should have turned the heat on in my room and put the clay next to the heater. That would have been smart. But I did not have the forethought to do that, so I am suffering from my own bad decisions. I had to move all my resin next to the living room heater because my art room is not heated and resin does not do well in the cold. It really messes with the curing times. So I had to move all that in my living room just so that it doesn't mess up the curing. It still cures, but it affects like the heating times and stuff, and I don't trust it, so I started curing stuff directly in front of the heater. I started putting my pressure pot right in front of the heater. So their nose kind of, it doesn't upturn exactly, but it sort of does. It's just a little bit. So like it comes out. I haven't chosen the eyes yet either. I'll do that in a little bit. I wasn't terribly prepared for today. I had a lot going on. Okay. And then the eyes. Where are the eyes? The eyes are like here and here. Okay. Alright, we're almost good here with the head shape. I just gotta smooth it out, which is what is challenging right now because the clay is so hard and cold. But the more you work it, the more it warms up. I have very, very cold hands, so I can't just use my hands, unfortunately. So we should probably cave this part in with the neck. Okay. Thankfully, when we're doing furry creatures, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. It just needs to be acceptably shaped. Because we'll be adding fur texture, so that will kind of hide most of this. It just needs to be the proper overall shape. So let's see here. All right. All right. Now, I wasn't planning on giving them a hat, because I think the apron is just cuter. Let's see. So the nose, the head is very cone-shaped, so should get rid of the indentations here, and then the nose kind of looks like it goes up a little bit. Okay. And you can see we've kind of got the head shape almost correct. Still a little lumpy right there. There we go. All right. There we go. That's looking a little better there. Now I gotta figure out where the eyes are supposed to go. Let me pull up the picture of the badger's face. So the eyes are actually like down here. And fairly close together and small. Okay. Maybe not quite that close together, but... Alright. Let me see, what would be good badger eyes? The dark brown seems like a viable option. Alright. Let's do some lids around the eyes. They are very, very rounded though, so I need to be careful not to change the shape too much because the eyelids are very round. They're just a little smaller. Alright, and then the nose is here. Alright. Very rounded noses. I'm currently looking at like an image of a badger face to help me out here. One of the things I was thinking about the other day is how we often make fun of older art because, you know, the horses look terrible or the children look like adults or, you know, just odd things. And when there's portraits, I mean, there's no excuse, but I was thinking about when people do animals like cats and things, if they don't have a cat right with them, the amount of times I have to pull up my phone to look at reference photos of, no, typically not cats because I'm pretty used to cats, but just animals in general, like horses and things, because I have no idea. I'm like, yeah, I know what a horse looks like, and then I try to draw one, I'm like, do I actually know what a horse looks like? And we'll make fun of them, but I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't have a device in their pocket where they could just, you know, arbitrarily pull up a photo of every horse breed in existence. You know, so we are definitely blessed for that we have so many art references just readily available. Because I think I would probably be a much crappier artist if I didn't have that. So yeah, even though it's very comical to look at some of those, I'm always like, you know what? That's fair. My horses that I draw without any reference also look pretty bad. Alright, let's see. What does the badger nose look like? Oh, it's a bit like a dog nose, so it's like, eh. And then... very, very rounded. And then curls back just a little. Each side, like that. And then just do that. I need to do a quick little patch here because we're developing a little pocket for some reason there. Alright, so we have the basic head done. The eyes should technically be smaller, but it's fine. I could make them a little smaller. Alright. There we go. We made the eyes a little smaller so it looks a little more badger-like. Because their eyes are fairly small compared to their head. I know in my sculptures I do tend to make the eyes bigger, and that's part of what makes them look kind of cutesy. Because we associate that proportion with baby things. Alright, so now we're going to do the ears. The ears are kind of cute, and I like their ears. They're kind of cute and small. These little ears. Alright. Alright. Okay, cut this in half. like so. And we'll take our... I'm going to try to be good this video and keep things in the center of the camera. I've been mad at myself lately when I've been doing the video editing because I keep pulling stuff back here to me and then you can't see it. And I'm like, well, that was great. I was constantly getting mad at myself every time I edit my own videos. Like, why do you do this? You're supposed to keep things in view of the camera. Okay, so the stripes are going to go up the eyes. So the ears go about here. Like so. Alright. There we go. So we have the head shape done. It's pretty good there. Alright. Now I do think I might need to add some additional shape here, because yeah, that's gonna look a little better if I add extra clay to the sides of the face here, because that's not quite shaped correctly. The head is a little too skinny. Okay. There we go. Yeah, you can see that's looking a little more badger shaped for the head. Alright. There we go. Alright. There we go. Badger head is done. Except for the fur, which we always add last. Alright, so now we gotta take a look at the body, which is kind of a mess at the moment. Mostly it just needs to be smoothed out a bit, which is fine. I don't have to worry too much about the front because that will be covered by the apron. Okay. Okay, that's looking a little better here. Got most of the neck and head roughly smooth. Now, let me see what badger paws look like. They're fairly, I think they're good for digging, so they're like fairly large and long. Yeah, they're like bear paws, almost. Just a little bit longer. Because they have a small pad and then really longer toes. Okay. Alright. So what we're going to do, well, we're going to smooth out a little bit more on the body here, just so that it's roughly smooth. And we're going to add some legs to this sculpture so she can stand. I don't know why I decided that this one was a lady, but I decided that it was. I think it's because I'm thinking of like the Badger Mum thing in Redwall, where it often was a lady. I think there was a cook that was a badger in Redwall, but I can't remember. I can't remember what book that was. I will say, as much as I love the books, the stories do kind of run together in my head sometimes. Except for the ones that I read like multiple times, or that were in different locations other than Redwall. I do remember most of those pretty well. It's like I vaguely remember, and then as soon as I listen to the story or read it, it all comes back. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one. All right. Okay, got pretty good shape there now. Now we gotta do legs. Now the legs, thankfully, are kind of short and stocky. So I think we can get away with making the legs fairly short to the base here and just sticking out a little bit. And that'll make it more sturdy, especially since this is going to have to stay unbaked for a while. It needs to be fairly sturdy so that it doesn't crack as it sits up here and dries out a bit. Because normally polymer clay you don't really want to dry out. But it kind of is going to, just because I can't bake it yet. Okay. We're making pretty good progress. I think it's only been not even a full hour. Close to a full hour, but not quite. Ugh. Alright, so now we're going to divide this in half. And then we're going to smooth out the top here, kind of make like the upper part of a thigh. Alright, let me fix the shape here a bit. There we go. I was trying to make the thighs look more like they're attached to the back properly. I know that's a bit more humanoid, but we're making it stand like a person, so. And then, of course, the tail's going to go right here. That way it looks a bit more natural with the way this is shaped. All right. Now let's go ahead and make the tail and the feet. So the feet. Yeah, thankfully tails are awesome on animals because it helps balance them to stand properly. Let me see, how long is the badger tail? The tails aren't that long. Yeah, they're about the same length as the legs, so it needs to come out like that. Okay. They're a little bit bushy. Okay. Yeah, part of the issue you can see is that the clay keeps cracking as I blend it together. During the summer months, that doesn't happen as much. I mean, it still happens if you let your clay set out. Whenever it's cold or whenever it's a bit dry, it tends to do that. All right. So the tails are kind of pointed, but also kind of flattened out. And then they're... That's a bit too long. We gotta make it shorter and squatter and a little bit more flattened. There we go. All right, attach the tail. All right, so we need a little bit more clay here. We're gonna roll this together. We're gonna make the 2 feet. And then our badger will be standing. Then we just have to do the apron, and then we'll wrap the arms around and have one of them out for the tray. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any other details. We could put like a cooking utensil in the other hand. Maybe like a cooking spoon, like a batter spoon or something. That might be cute. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see. Okay. All right, let me pull up the badger paws again. Okay, so they're kind of squat, but they have some really massive claws there. All right, so we got this now. Making progress. I need to trim my nails. Every time I do this, I end up... How many toes? Okay, they have 5 toes. I always end up hitting parts of it and then causing damage to the sculpture by adding little indentations from my nails by mistake. All right. Let's see if we can. Where's my roller? Okay. All right. Let's cut a nice square here. Let's move this back. Let's remind ourselves to do this in the center of the camera. Okay. All right. A little bit shorter. Okay. I didn't mean to hit the microphone. Okay. So now we're going to do this, this. Not quite even. All right. Let's do this a little lower here, like so. You can see that. And then we'll cut off a little bit more here. Okay. Okay. All right, now we need to do the apron ties as well. But we can't do too many of those because... All right, let's go ahead and roll this out a little thinner at the bottom. And kind of an angle. All right. Now let me look up apron designs really quickly because I'm thinking there's some cute ones that have like pockets. Yeah. Yeah, so let's add a little pocket here. All right. Now I saw a technique I really liked. I saw somebody who pressed fabric against parts of their sculptures to create a fabric texture, and I was like, that's really smart. I should try that. So I'm gonna see, because I think I have... Oh, that won't work. This. Yeah, that works. There we go. It gave it a slight fabric-y texture. We're going to attach this to the model here real quick. Now we are going to add the, obviously we're going to add the string ties. I'm going to go ahead and add the bottom one. The shoulder ones may have to wait until we do the arms. We'll make the front of the apron sag a little bit there. There we go. Okay, now let's make a nice long string, and we'll put that around the back of the apron and tie it off. Or the back of the badger and tie it off like an apron. Okay. And then we are almost done, because the cookie tray won't take me long at all. I just got to stick the badger's arm out like this, and then I'll have the tray. Now I do think I might add, because badgers have super long claws, so I might see if I can add some wire, like snippets, that might make quite a difference in the appearance. So we'll see. But I'm not sure. That might help with the claws for the feet, because badgers do have very long claws. Alright. Okay, hold on. This might be one of the scenarios where I just attach it and then put a fake tie-off piece that looks a bit like a bow. Yeah, we'll just do that. So this is what we're doing so far, and then I'm just going to attach a quick little fake bow here so that it looks... Here, I'll use this one. Do that, and then we'll roll this out a little thinner. Like so. And then we put a thin little piece over the center so that it looks kind of correct. Alright, so there we have the front of the apron, the back. Okay. We must do the arms now. We are almost finished. Almost. We'll have one arm down and one arm outward slightly so that we can balance this tray on it. And then I'll make a bunch of little cookies for the tray, and that won't take me more than a few minutes. Alright, so probably need a little more clay for the arms. I did pretty good at estimating how much clay I was going to need. Hopefully I don't run out the last second, but I don't think I will. Because this is the last major thing I need, and then I just need little dots for the cookies, so that should be pretty easy from then on. And then as soon as we get these arms done, we will do the tray with the cookies and the fur pattern. And then I'll see if I can locate my wire snippers. I might see if I can add the toenail claws for the... No, actually, I think... Hold on. Do all badgers have the giant claws? They usually do. Yeah, they really do have long claws, so I kind of need to do that. Yeah. Well, they can be worn shorter. But it's rare. They almost always have thick claws. Alright. So yeah, I'm probably going to be taking... That might be too thick. That might be too thin. Maybe. No, actually, this is probably the right thickness, so we'll use that. And then let me see if I have my wire snippers. I don't, but I think this one's soft enough I can cut it, if I recall correctly. So we should be okay. All right. If not, then we can use toothpicks. It'll work somehow. All right. Okay, so then we elongate this a bit. And we create elbow. Then pull it up a bit and make shoulder. Now we might have to add a bit for the shoulder section because I do feel like the badger should be fairly stocky. And then this one has to be angled outward and up. Now maybe that's enough. We'll see. We need to add to the shoulder, we can. And then this one. Let's add a little bit of a strip across the back here. Okay. Okay. Let's smooth this out a little bit. I'll attach this better. All right. Alright, so let's go ahead and make some little paws here. We'll have this one coming across the apron. And then this one. We'll have upturned and holding on to the tray. Now, I likely will not attach the tray until after the baking is done. This should prevent it from falling over, I think, in the oven. Hopefully. Or in time, because this isn't going to be baked for a while. If I just leave it, it's likely to like keep slowly sliding downward, and I'll have to do a lot of fixing before I can, you know, actually bake it, and that would be a pain. So I'm gonna just turn the paw upward. Not gonna do the details underneath because that would actually mess it up if when I try to when I try to 1, 2, 3, 4. When I try to I lost my train of thought. When I try to do something, I don't remember what it was. Oh, when I try to attach it later, if I add details for like the underside of the paw, that would look cute for this section of it, but it's going to add texture and stuff, and that's not going to make it hold the tray as well. So this side that's showing is going to end up being flat, even though obviously they have paw pads just like bears and dogs and cats. I know I'm pulling the thing out of screen again. I need to stop doing that. All right. That's one paw. We're going to keep it solidly attached to the front of her apron. And then the other one is just going to be turned upward into the sky. And we're gonna... I don't need too much clay here because I made that arm a little longer. Alright, then we're gonna smooth this out a little bit. Add the fur pattern, and then we'll add the cookies to the tray here. So we just need the front of the paw for this. Okay. Let's see. Like I said, obviously the upside of this paw is flat. Doesn't look very nice, but it's not going to be visible because tray is going to be on top. All right, so let's do a quick string for the top part of the apron. We'll cut the claws real quick, and then, well, we got to do for a pattern, then we'll do the claws, and then I'll do a bunch of little cookies for the tray. Let's see. Might need something to keep this from falling over time. It'll be fine before it gets baked, but once it gets baked, it may not handle it so well. Okay. Okay. All right, let's stretch this out a little bit more. And then top part of this. Okay. There we go. Okay. Push that like so. All right. So this is what we have so far for our Baker Badger tray. Be off like this. Got a nice little apron. All right, so we're gonna, let's see. We're gonna go ahead and do all the cookies real quick here, because that's easy enough for me to do. I'm a little bigger than that. Now these will have to be glued down later because they're not going to stay like this. They will detach and pop right off if I don't glue them down. So. All right. Yeah, I think I just like her paw being on her chest. That's fine. Because I was thinking about giving her a bacon spoon, but I don't, there's not really a great way to have her hold it without moving that hand away. And I'm already going to have a decent amount of issues with the one hand. So we don't need to make it worse. Now I'm going to leave all the imperfections on these because cookies, homemade cookies, generally don't look perfect. They look kind of all over the place. So only thing is we're going to add chocolate chips. Like so. All right. Few more cookies with little chocolate chips. And trying to get at least 3 in each one, but potentially more. I enjoy doing the little food sculptures. It's a lot of fun. I almost wanted to give her a loaf of bread, but I think the cookie tray is cuter. So, you know, it works. Either way, it gets the image across. There we go. We got a little tray of cookies now. So we have this thus far. And finally, we need to do our fur pattern to make this nice and appropriately furry looking. Let me use, where's my cheat one? There we go. And hopefully next week I will have an oven. If not, I'll find something else to do for the video. But, and then we'll just postpone this until the week after, because I can't imagine I will not have an oven by then. I need my oven for other things, so I will be doing everything in my power to get it up, hopefully by Wednesday. But if anything happens, this next part may have to be... Well, I forgot to do a little bit of a mouth there. There we go. But yes, hopefully I will have everything up and running by Wednesday. But it is always possible that something may go wrong. Especially since I'm doing it myself. So in some sense it's like, well, it's good because I control the scheduling. But on the other hand, I don't always know what I'm doing. And I sometimes discover that when I start doing something. All right. All right. Okay, we're almost finished, almost there. All right, so one final thing. Oops. You know, I might use toothpicks. That might look better than this. Because, like, they need the claws, but... Hold on. Let me see if I got some toothpicks. Okay. Because badgers have very long claws. I'll show you what I'm doing here in a second. It looks a little odd, but it is technically accurate. I think it's cuter to leave the paws without the claws, but badgers have some crazy long claws for digging and such. So I really can't make a badger without it. There you go. I might push them in a tad more. And I can always trim them if I think like they're a little too sharp or something. We can do that. Now I'm going to assume that if you were a anthropomorphic badger, you might trim your nails a little bit if they were on your hands. So we're going to make the nails up here a little more dull, less sharp. And the nice thing, at least with the toothpicks, is that I can trim the pieces later. So. And as soon as we finish this, we are done with our badger sculpture. Yeah, there was no way I could do it without having the nails, because badgers just have really long claws and nails. So, I'm keeping some semblance of accuracy. No, that one's too small. And actually, if I use a toothpick like this, I could stabilize the arm. Like so. And that way, the arm will stay out. All right. So I think we are done. This is what we have so far. We have our badger with the cookie tray. You can see all of the details on the apron. The bow that I accidentally smashed again. I'll fix that. And the nails. Alright. So I think we are pretty much done. I will hopefully be back next week with this sculpture. If not, we'll be doing something else. Hopefully I can get my oven up and running. That is the only potential issue, is whether or not that happens. And as long as that's good, then everything proceeds as normal and is fine. Here, actually, I'm gonna twist it like this and do another one through the body, because that should prevent this arm. There we go. It's like putting a little cheat sheet thing so that the arm doesn't, fall back inward. because I'm a little worried about that. And I'll have to make sure the feet stay good, but that way this will stay up. All right. All right, so we are finished with our little badger. If you watch this video, I do greatly appreciate it. You are welcome to comment other things that you would like to see me sculpt and do, but hopefully I will be back next week with the rest of this sculpture, and I hope you have a wonderful night.